welcome to, I keep doing that, my review of Halloween 2018, but first I need to talk about a few things. One, you may be asking why I didn't review the two Rob Zombie remakes. I mean, you're doing a review of the whole Halloween series, you gotta do a review of the two Halloween movies by Rob Zombie. And to that I say, the only things I have to do are eat, drink, and go to the bathroom. But let me explain why. Those movies are appalling to me. Other people say, yeah, they're not great movies, but you may be over-exaggerating. The thing is, I have more sensitive viewers who watch this show, and the things that go on in that movie, we'll just call it gratuitous adult material, such as cursing or otherwise. I don't want those people to hear or see that, because, you know, I couldn't in good conscience do that. It's just a matter of manners and a matter of taste. I can't, with a decent conscience, say in very broad strokes what happens in that movie. But Rob Zombie can bring it in great detail out to the world. Let me just say, it makes you cringe the entire time. All the actors seem like they're trying way too hard, except for Danielle Harris, Brad Dourif, Sid Haig, Ken Faree, but everybody else sucks. Rob Zombie is very self-indulgent in his writing, and he just cannot help himself. And there's scenes in this movie that absolutely just disgust me to the point where it almost hurts to watch. I admit that I have taste. I'll say that. What I mean is, I don't really like the gritty, grimy, grungy sort of horror movie, like the Firefly trilogy by Rob Zombie, or, what else? Just not those kinds of movies. You may think, oh, you like horror movies, you must listen to, like, Metallica, or, death metal or something. No, I listen to freaking Frank Sinatra, to be completely honest. So I'm into the more soft, slow burn horror movies, and that's just who I've always been. So, yeah, you'll find out how I feel about them in the ranking, but, yeah, I just can't in good conscience review those movies. But anyway, I can, in good conscience, review the newest addition to the Halloween series, Halloween 2018, just simply called Halloween. This movie stars Jamie Lee Curtis, and it is about Michael continuing his reign of terror 40 years after the original babysitter murders. So this is where the film kind of, what should I say? This creates yet another timeline, ignoring every other movie in the series besides the first one. And I'm just gonna say it, I'm sick of the timeline crap. The horror movie franchises should not have a choose your own adventure. They just shouldn't. I do like this idea though, but it just gets confusing after a while. Not as confusing as people say, because people make it seem like you're learning trigonometry by learning the Halloween series when you're really just learning about like 4 different ways to watch the movies. But anyway, I really like this movie. This was the movie that introduced me to Halloween movies and the horror movie genre in general. I had never watched horror movies. I didn't like them before this movie came out. Then I started hearing good things, and that's when I started watching shows like The Kill Count by James A. Janice, and that's really what got me into the horror genre. So anyway, this movie begins at Smith's Grove Sanitarium on October 29th, 2018. It starts with 2 true crime podcasters. We'll get to that in a minute. And they're going to try and interview Michael Myers, because, yeah, push all your chips forward 2 days before the 40th anniversary of one of the biggest crime sprees in America, and try to waste time interviewing a person who never talks. I can't make their decisions for them, guys. But anyway, the sound design in this, with all the I don't want to say crazy people, Disturbed, are walking around in chains and like a record player is playing old music, sort of gives this eerie vibe, like it's almost an abandoned asylum. But yeah, I think it's a really good sequence. With him holding up the mask, which I really love. We'll talk about that in a second. And yeah, then the opening credits. This starts with a reverse time lapse of a pumpkin, undecomposing. I don't know the real word for it. And it sort of like gives this like, I don't know how to say it, this sort of feeling of resurrection of the series after Rob Zombie's movies, which I can really appreciate. And yeah, it's a really cool sequence. It's got the music, and it feels like the original, and I love it. And then we get to Jamie Lee Curtis. This is the first Halloween movie we've had with Jamie Lee Curtis, and when this came out, like 15 years. And yeah, this Jamie Lee Curtis I can really appreciate for her dedication to the series. Sometimes she doesn't want to be in it, but I mean, you have to admit she kind of owes her career to it. She is a great actress, and I love her in other movies like Trading Places and A Fish Called Wanda and Freaking Friday. Yeah, my favorite role from her is Laurie Strode. Just simple as that. The Laurie PTSD element of this, where it shows how much of a basket case she is, with her like in a fortified house that looks like a fortress. She has like 14 different locks on her door. She owns a bunch of guns, and her idea, or like the idea of her being emotionally fragile from that night, it is not unborrowed from H2O's premise, but in that one, she was scared. She had to rise to the occasion by running. In this one, she stayed in Haddonfield, and she was ready for him to escape. The security at Smith's Grove and access to its patients, I don't see why just one day in June, she just went into Smith's Grove with a gun and just put a bullet in Michael's head. Just saying. But, yeah, I really like the element of her being sort of emotionally, sort of fragile, I guess. But fragile people aren't broken. And, yeah, people have said, like, it's been 40 years, why don't you just get over it, including the people in the movie. And, you have absolutely no right to tell anybody that they should get over a traumatic experience. I'm just saying that right now. So, I'm pretty sure those are the same people that tell depressed people just to cheer up a little bit. But, yeah, I think Laurie's, sort of Sarah Connor element in this movie is actually rather an interesting take on the character. And then we move to the dad, played by, I can't remember his name, he was the Wiz on Seinfeld, and the warden in Brooklyn Nine-Nine when Jake went to jail. He has some pretty funny moments. He's not like Allison or Karen. She's like, he's he's just kind of that down to earth, on the outside looking in type of person, where he just does a 9 to 5, provide for his family, and not really worried about all this Michael Myers stuff. You know, he's the diffuser at family dinner. He's just the one that wants to live a normal life and really succeeds in enforcing that delusion. The interview part of this movie, where the true crime podcasters interviewed Laurie Strode, really shows how, you know, emotional she is and how she had 2 failed marriages. You know, her daughter was taken away from her when the daughter was 12. And what else? And yeah, it kind of shows Laurie's, you know, sort of anger toward them. You know, because she just feels like they're charlatans, just trying to cash in on a tragedy, which they are. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. Allison, for the most part, is not a bad character. I really like her as the new Laurie Strode, quotation marks. You know, she has a boyfriend and a couple of friends, and, you know, she does go to school. I don't know. There's just something about her that I really enjoy, especially in the 3rd act when she has to rise to the occasion of something she's sort of out of the element on and fight Michael Myers. The classroom scene is really good. But it does feel kind of like a rerun of the original. Like it's PJ Souls, which interesting cameo, is talking about fate and all of that, which was exactly what they were talking about in the original. But why didn't they just change it up I don't know what they did in Frankenstein about facing the monster. In this movie, they could have done something about, you know, grudges or resurrection of, you know, this lost legend. There's so many things they could have talked about, you know, but they didn't. The gun scene when Laurie is you know, is cleaning her guns, and we see the scar on her arm, and that's all good. It kind of shows how survivalist she is in this movie, which I really enjoy. The bus crash scene with just these mental patients standing in the middle of the road, just completely still, is pretty cool. What was I gonna say? You know, it was kind of like in the original where they're all just kind of standing around, and it's just as creepy here. And so, I can't think of much else to say about it, and the fact that, Michael kills a kid in this, not a little kid, a 12-year-old, is pretty good. The gas station scene where he's going around in the background showing how well he can blend in. Then they go to the bathroom where he drops the teeth of the mechanic he just killed, and you know, he slams Aaron's head against the wall, and then I don't remember what he does to the other podcaster. I think her name is Dana. But yeah, it's a very cool scene, very gory, which I appreciate, and it's an all-around pretty good scene in my opinion. And then he takes the mask out of the truck and he puts it on. You just get this feeling, yes, you know, he's finally putting the mask back on. The mask, let's get to that. The mask is fantastic. Maybe one of the best in the series, if not the best. The sort of withered look of it gives it sort of this extra grimy, you know, like it's withered, and it's not like the Rob Zombie mask where you can see like half of his face. It's still a really good mask. People would say, how would latex stay that well after all these years? I mean, look at the one that they actually used in the original movie is all is broken in pieces. Well, the thing about that is that had stayed under Deborah Hill's bed for 3 years, and then it went to Dick Warlock after they made the second movie. I have the feeling if they caught him the same night as the 1978 murders, they would have kept it in a sort of climate-controlled, vacuum-sealed evidence bag, which probably would have kept it in better shape. Not the best shape, but better shape. That's just my opinion. They probably would have taken better care of it since it's, a critical piece of one of the most famous murder cases in America. Yeah. And the Myers in this movie is maybe the best since Nick Castle. The way he walks, the way he moves, the way he can just, the way he sort of acts like Myers and he can just blend in and navigate the town of Haddonfield is, it's very impressive to me, and kudos to James Jude Courtney who played it. I think we saw a little bit too much of his face near the beginning, but still a very, very good Myers in the way he sort of acts like Nick Castle. The fall feel and the Halloween feel in this movie is unmatched. A close second maybe being Halloween 6. The leaves everywhere, the bare trees in the forest with the fall sunset coming in. It all very elicits a sort of cool fall feeling. Not exactly cold, but it's a crisp day out, jacket weather, as I would say. And the Halloween feel in this with the kids trick-or-treating and all that and running around having fun and costumes and, decorations everywhere. It's very nice, in my personal opinion. And we haven't had really the Halloween feel in a lot of these movies. They throw in some kids in costumes, but this one it really feels like Halloween in a small town. Even the first one didn't really nail down that it was Halloween night with kids everywhere trick-or-treating. But I give that movie more of a pass just because it had a lower budget. But yeah, God, one of my favorite things in the movie, the 2.5 minute long one take where he's going house to house killing people, where he grabs a hammer from a garage, then beats a woman with it, and then he goes on to the next house where he sees his reflection in the window, walks around, comes in, and stabs somebody through the neck. And this is very similar to a scene in Trick or Treat where this guy kills somebody right 10 feet from this huge crowd of people and nobody notices. They think it's a Halloween prank, and then he sort of blends into the crowd because he's in a Halloween costume. And I think this is what that whole movie is based on, that Myers, this whole series is based on, that Myers can blend in because it's Halloween night and he's wearing a mask. Jeffrey Frank Hawkins is great in this movie. I can't remember, Will Forte. That may be another person. He's a very no-nonsense deputy, if you will. He just wants Myers found and dead. And, he's just trying to be a deputy because the sheriff says, what are we gonna do? Cancel Halloween? And, sorry if my accent may have sounded a little racist, but, and, he's just trying to find Michael and bring him to justice, probably killing him so he can't do any more damage. and he just seems like that small town deputy. He should have been the sheriff, in my opinion. But no. Killing a kid in this movie, it was pretty risky, and I commend him for it because it shows Michael's brutality, and it kind of gets across that, like, he was just like, I was just playing around 4 years ago. Now I'm gonna kill as many people as I can. And yeah, it sort of shows his lack of empathy, that he's just killing for the love of killing. The score of this movie with what was it? It was John Carpenter's score, along with his son and someone else, is fantastic. There's one piece of music that I love. It's called The Shape Hunts Allison, where they put a violin bow across an electric guitar, and it just sounds so good. I mean, the score in this movie is so great. It's almost as good as it was in the original and the second one. Julian, you could say, is kind of forced comic relief. I think he's actually really funny. He has some lines in it that makes him just really funny. I really like him. You know, comedy has not been in a Halloween movie very much. You know, aside from H2O, and I guess Resurrection. You know, if you consider the comedy. But you know, when this movie does something good, it does something really good. And yeah, the motion sensor scene is one of the most, it's one of the most creative things I've ever seen. So they're walking home, and this house has motion sensors, and then every time one of them moves, it pops on, and then the lights go off. And then when they come back on, Michael stabs the kid, and he's trying to run away. And then Michael impales him on a metal fence through the chin. I might add. Sorry, I got a flu shot today. It's all very good. It's a very interesting scene. And Laurie's house in this movie it's pretty interesting. That whole sequence of her going through her house, with the mannequins and him, like, blending in. And I love the scene where, like, it kind of flips it, where Laurie gets knocked off the balcony, Michael looks away, and then she's gone. And then, of course, in the basement, when they get... I love the gotcha scene, where Karen, like, has the gun. She's like, I can't do it! And then Michael comes, and then comes in, and she's like, gotcha. Shoots him right in the cheek. Yeah, that's a really bad scene, I can't say it. And yeah, then they trap him in the basement and light him on fire. It's really good. The two cops talking outside about, like, the banh mi sandwich. It's actually a rather funny scene. It was by two guys who aren't comedians. I think it was, like, the makeup guy and the technical advisor for police procedure. These guys aren't comedians, and they were improvising lines, I believe. And it just makes a really funny scene. This just sounds like a conversation, two guys would have in their, off time. I mean, it's a very natural scene. And, it is, of course, referencing Halloween 5, which I don't agree with, but what they do with the scene that really matters. And in this one, I really enjoy it. The kills in this movie are brutal as all get out. In one scene, he kills somebody and then carves their head out and turns their head into a jack-o'-lantern. Holy crap. And the kills in general, the brutality and the creativeness are really good, in And the ending where they trap Michael in the basement and they light him up. Many people have criticized this ending. One, because they can't see Michael going up in flames because his body is missing. And now they have to explain how they escape in Halloween 2. And two, people think that Laurie Strode should have died in the fire. There are two different sides of this. There's a poetic ending, and there's a happy ending. I personally think that Laurie deserved not to die in the fire. All that she had gone through, all that she had been through, I think it would have been better for her to live and for Michael to die. They tried doing the people refer to this like they think of it as the scene in Halloween 2 where Loomis is gonna light himself up with Michael, proving that one can't exist without the other. And though that is better, I don't think it works for Laurie and Michael, in my opinion. And then they leave, and then Michael's body is, of course, gone, and nobody knows where he is. And then Laurie is driven off to the hospital, because she was stabbed. Yeah, that's really it for the good part. But anyway, every rose does have its thorn, as I say. And this movie is not without flaws. So, let's get into them. The mixed elements. Michael is unmasked for too long in this movie. I wouldn't mind so much if you didn't see a lot of it. But he's got like this 5 o'clock shadow on his face. You can tell that he's like a brittle old 6-year-old man. Seeing too much of Michael, they should have learned from the first, 18 movies, humanizes him too much. And that's what you don't want to do. I get it, I get what they did, but you still shouldn't have seen as much of him as you did. And the whole line about, like, I borrowed this from a friend at the Attorney General's office. Yeah, let's give the, probably the most important piece of one of the most important murders in history. Let's just give that to the amateur podcasters. I don't think that's how it works. And I don't think it should ever work that way. As you'll notice, I'm going through the bads of this. I mixed up my notes. So yeah, there's not a lot of mixed in here. So all of the things I've said is bad. I've always kind of been a little iffy on the line about, wasn't there a brother who cold-blooded mutilated all those teenagers? No, it was not her brother. That was some myth people made up to make him feel better, I guess. Why? I mean, I know why it's confirming that they are no longer related, but it's... I mean, he never went to the hospital to go get Laurie, so why would anybody think that it was her sister? There was nothing to lead you to that conclusion. In Halloween 2, I don't like it, and I don't really get it, but I know why it's there. In this movie, it just doesn't make any sense. Why would she say that? She had no reason to. The friends in this movie, and the boyfriend, and the boyfriend and all of them, they just seem like throwaway characters. They're so annoying for a lot of it, and, I don't know, like, Dave is, just 3 guys getting killed by a knife isn't that big of a deal, he just kind of seems like a jerk. He seems like a jerk. And they just seem like they're there to get killed. The boyfriend especially just seems like a jerk to me. He just seems like your stereotypical, bad guy, jock person. The drama in this movie about, like, Laurie, especially in the restaurant, seems really like it. I don't like that scene in the dinner because, her just breaking down at the dinner table. It just seems too forced, and it shows, like, the disconnect of family drama. And after that, we get Judy Greer's famous flat dialogue monologue. I feel like she's a good enough actor to not give a monologue this flat and monotone. I know that she's telling a story and she's trying to hold back tears and all that, but she's just like, I spent my entire life trying to wear off the paranoia and neuroses that she projected onto me. It's like she's reading from a teleprompter. I know she's trying to not show emotion, but you can at least show a little, have a little bit of sadness, through the seeps, or not through the seeps, seeping through. And the sheriff in this movie, like I said, is pretty dumb. What are we gonna do? Cancel Halloween? That I don't get it. I don't get. Of course, we need some reason for Michael to be on the loose. But he's just like, he'll turn up. I mean, I feel like the sheriff of a town who experienced a gruesome murder 40 years ago, and then him coming back on the 40th anniversary of those murders, he should be more concerned. We get this stupid scene. This is maybe the worst part of the movie, where it's revealed that Dr. Sartain, the doctor of Michael Myers, who was a student of Loomis, who has studied the shape, is actually the person behind the bus crash. He went to see the animal in the wild, and I guess it's not great. It's not great. They should have had Lori cause the bus crash, in my opinion. It would have been, it would have helped her. I prayed every night he would escape. And I hate that line, too, because it just seems like a forced trailer moment. But anyway, and, he springs up from Deputy Frank Hawkins, his dead body, which killing off Hawkins was a very bad decision, in my opinion. I really liked him. And then somebody else other than Myers is wearing the Michael Myers mask. They were doing so well. They were really doing great on this, in my opinion. And then they throw in some monkey wrench of, a little bit of bad seep through in that moment. And but let's move on. There's a very cringy line delivery from Jamie Lee Curtis where she's like, she comes out from a dark passageway with a knife and she's slashing at Michael and she says, "Happy Halloween, Michael." And her line, it just, like a lot of this, it seems forced. It just seems forced. That's really all I can say. My mixed thing is a lot of the humor in this. I like the cops. I like the dad. I like Julian. But, there were some scenes that I just thought was just too forced as far as humor goes. They were going to have some deleted scenes about freaking Sartain and Hawkins talking about Sartain picking his nose. I mean, sometimes you just try and fail at things. Judy Greer being in this movie, I'm not a big fan of. They could have brought back Danielle Harris or Josh Hartnett or whatever. But no, they had to cut themselves off completely from all those movies and get Judy Greer. The stereotypical rom-com actress, I guess. That's kind of what I think of her as. And I feel like she just doesn't fit in this movie. It sort of H2O's her, where it makes this movie seem more clean. Not like clean as in inappropriateness, just seem too neat. And I just don't think she really belongs. The mini Josh Gad character in this, where, he's just kind of this quirky sort of guy, I'm kind of on the fence about. I really like some moments, but I really hate others, like when he tries to kiss Allison or whatever. Oh yeah, by the way, spoilers. If that's the one thing you didn't want to know about this new Halloween movie, spoiler alert, I suppose. Sorry, I'm just kind of at the home stretch of this review, and it's the night before Halloween, and I still gotta film a ranking video that's gonna be released tomorrow, and I'm just kind of low energy right now. All the references, I mean, I don't, like, yeah, I get it, it's supposed to pay respect to the movies that it's just completely thrown in the garbage, but it doesn't, they try to make a reference to literally every movie in the franchise, and it makes a lot of references to Halloween 2. So, and they even make a reference to Halloween Resurrection. Why? Oh, yeah, we need to, pay our respects to Halloween Resurrection, the most maligned movie in this entire series, by having just a church bus say Resurrection. I feel like it's all just very shoehorned in. But I guess I can't complain too much. The character of Sartain himself is not bad. Sort of the new Loomis, or Noomis, if you will. His doctor, and the sort of crazy doctor, but he doesn't seem like Donald Pleasance, and I know that nothing would or will. But he just, I feel like they're just really trying hard to make you think that he's the new Loomis. And that doesn't, and Laurie, calls him the new Loomis, which, in my opinion, I don't get. They never explain what happened between, in the aftermath of 1978. And how would he know that that's Loomis? Even in Halloween 2, they don't really, I know this isn't, that's not what they would do in that situation. They don't really get a chance to, get to know each other, But at least in the end of Halloween 1978, all it is just that guy with a gun that came in here to kill the person that was choking me. And, they never exchanged names, and I guess they might have met at the hospital that Laurie was taken to afterwards. But, I can't say with any certainty, but the character of Sartain, it just kind of feels forced, in my opinion. And that's what I've been saying a lot this review, forced. It all feels forced. And the things in this movie are really good, and the things in this movie that are forced seem to really forced. That's the thing. Everything's kind of magnified. But anyway, guys, I can't rag on this movie too much just because this is a movie that introduced me to horror movies in general, and the Halloween series, which is a series that I love. So I really enjoy this movie. It is a great love letter to the franchise and to horror movies in general. It is a great Halloween movie with a great Michael Myers, and I really cannot recommend it enough. It's a pretty clean movie, a little bit of cursing, and a little bit of blood, but it's all very good, and I really recommend that you watch it. So I give Halloween 2018 4.5 out of 5.